Good afternoon and welcome to the Greater Houston Partnership's COVID-19 Houston Business Forum, where we're discussing the many issues facing our business community during this pandemic. My name is Bethany Miller, and I'm the Vice President of Regional Economic Development with the Partnership. I'll be your MC for today's event, Layoffs and Furloughs, What Employers Need to Know. This topic is a direct response to some information we gathered in the very first business impact survey that we issued, in which 41% of respondents said their companies could only survive a slowdown or shutdown for up to 4 weeks before closing. Many of your firms are just at or approaching that 4-week mark, so we thought today's information would be timely. We'll begin the webinar by sharing a little more detail about the Shared Work Program and then move into a discussion about worker adjustment and retraining, or WARN notifications, which sometimes trigger what's called a rapid response. Before I begin, I just want to say that the Partnership is honored to be considered as one of your sources for trusted information. Please take note of the various resources we have for your reference. Our website offers a wealth of expert information on all things related to COVID-19. We send a daily briefing email to members, so be sure to subscribe for the most updated information. Our business resource groups continue to operate, although in a much different format, bringing you virtual opportunities to gain valuable information and network with your peers. And the Partnership has a LinkedIn group, which is another great place to connect with your fellow members. I also want to let you know that we're working with the regional business community as Texas restarts its economy. We've created this business survey to help understand the challenges facing companies across our region and provide local leaders and policymakers with recommendations on how to reopen the economy safely, sustainably, and successfully, while also protecting the health of employees and the public. The Houston Business Forums are held most Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, and you can register online at houston.org/events. Today we'll offer a presentation followed by Q&A. Please direct your questions to the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, which will be moderated. The chat feature will not be moderated, so please don't leave your questions there. All attendees are muted and your videos turned off for the entirety of the webinar. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. If you've tuned in before, you may recognize Michael Gutierrez, Human Resources Consultant Manager with Workforce Solutions. Michael has been a Workforce Solutions Manager for more than 9 years, working with industries ranging from aerospace to oil and gas. He's helped manage and put back to work hundreds of workers displaced by mass layoffs that have occurred in the Houston area and the surrounding counties. Managing a unit of HR consultants, he's responsible for serving 25,000 businesses yearly throughout the 13 counties in the Houston-Galveston area. Michael's unit assists employers with all HR services from hiring to termination, with a heavy focus on upskilling current talent. Chrystal Broussard, Account Liaison and Rapid Response Coordinator with the Gulf Coast Workforce Board and Workforce Solutions, provides support to the Workforce Board as a member of the staff. She's an experienced account liaison with a history of working in government administration. Skilled in research, event planning, government, and strategic planning, Chrystal holds a Master of Arts focused in nonprofit, public, and organizational management. Thank you, Chrystal and Michael. And now, Michael, I'll turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you for that. I want to start off with some resources for employers. I know over the past couple of weeks I've come on and I was speaking to different employers about being able to use the shared work program, and today we can dive into that a little bit more in depth. Chrystal does have some really good information for you guys about rapid response and WARN acts, so I would be sure that you have a piece of paper and pen handy, because this information is really resourceful. If you don't mind going to the next slide. For those that don't know, the Shared Work Program is for businesses that have slowed down due to COVID-19, where there was a need to reduce employees' work hours. Now, at that moment, you would be able to supplement the wages lost with partial unemployment benefits. Now, what's really important is for you to understand, for you to be qualified, the unit has to be affected by 10% of their hours reduced, but not more than 40%. You know, one of the most common questions that's posed to me is, well, let me just reduce my host staff by 20%. That way we can participate in the shared work program. Well, when you get to the moment that you are reducing everybody's pay rate by 20%, you are allowing them to say, you know what, since there's been a 20% decrease in my pay, let me go find another opportunity, or I'm just going to go on unemployment in general. So let's be careful about just umbrellaing a certain work hour reduction. And the reduction has to affect at least 10% of the employees in that unit. Now, it's important to also keep in mind, every unit does not have to participate in the shared work program. You may have a certain unit that has only reduced their hours because of their actual production and what they do. So keep in mind, the whole company does not have to be on the shared work program for you to qualify. If you don't mind going to the next slide. The employees that are going to qualify, they're going to receive both wages and unemployment benefits. So they're supplementing each other to help with any of the lost hours during that current time. And it's going to affect your tax rate the same way as any other benefit chargeback. There's nothing in addition on those chargebacks that you have to be concerned with. And I added 3 important pieces of information, because as we leave together, as we leave from each other this afternoon, I wanted you to have the website that you can go get more information. I wanted you to have a phone number, but most importantly, this email address is often what I suggest to employers that are trying to get signed up for the TWC Shared Work Program, or they're trying to get more information. When you email, everything is backdated to that moment that you sent that email over. So while you put in the calls and you said you've tried 100 times, none of that stuff is documented to show that you've actually made attempts to get a hold. So I would suggest that you use the email address to also share with them, hey, I've made several attempts to reach out to somebody. This is the information that I'm needing. But I really also wanted to take the time to dive in to what that application process looks like. So if you don't mind going to the next slide. When you complete your shared work plan application, I went ahead and grabbed the manual version. You can go in online, or if you have a staff member that is extremely comfortable operating online, they can physically go in and add all of this information in there. You are going to need certain things like your TWC tax account information, your organization name and mailing address. You are going to need certain things to help us identify the number of people that could be replaced on this plan. They're going to want to find out, if I draw your attention to line 26, it says, will affected employees be notified of the shared work plan in advance? Your answer should be yes. And your answer should be yes, just not for the sake of this application, but because during this time, you're trying to be so transparent with your staff to make sure that they have a place to land, or either a place to land before they come back to you. But it's important that you do have a plan to notify them in advance of the cutting of the hours and how you're going to help roll them into the shared work program. They're also going to want to know things like, what is the estimated number of employees who would have been laid off if you do not participate in the shared work plan? So it's really, really key that if you are going through the process of having furloughs, that you take a look at some of these options for you to help supplement the income for your staff. So this is the first page of the application. If you don't mind going to the next page. This won't be relative to everybody, but this is an opportunity for you to acknowledge any unions that you're a part of. You're going to complete this as well and submit it along with the application. And on this, you can see the email address. That's where you're going to send all of these completed forms to once you're ready to participate. If you don't mind going to the next slide. All right, now this is where you really are going to have to document the employees participating, and this is going to be done real time. There may be certain weeks that they're participating in the shared work plan, and then by week 5, they're no longer on the plan. So for the first 4 weeks, you would put their social security number with their name, along with your TWC account number and your organization name, and you're going to submit that on a weekly basis to TWC. Once again, if you do have somebody that is, or yourself that's capable of going in online, you're putting this directly into the system, the social security number, as well as their employee name. So keep that in mind. You're gonna want somebody that's helping you with this process, like your HR manager or anybody that really has access to giving you information about individuals throughout your organization. So I just wanted to dive in a little bit to what you would have to physically be responsible for submitting to TWC on a weekly basis. Because like I said, there may be some weeks that you're furloughing, and then there's other weeks that you're not because business has picked up or certain funding has finally come in. So I want you to keep all of that in mind. The shared work plan can be coupled with any of the services that are going on out there. I know some individuals were asking me, is this going to keep them from applying for the paycheck protection program? And it's not. These are all tools that can be supplemented together to help you keep your staff on board. I'm going to stick around for any questions at the end. I'm going to be viewing in chat if there's any questions that do come up. But if you have any questions about shared work plans just in general, feel free to pose them and I'll be more than happy to answer them. But thank you so much for letting me come on and share, Bethany.
Thank you, Michael, and I'm glad to know that you're sticking around. We've had a few questions come in as you were speaking, and so we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. The shared work program may have been considered as a phase 1 approach, but if it's gotten to the point that it's no longer feasible for you to keep your entire staff on the payroll, then WARN and rapid response might be a phase 2 approach. And so Chrystal Broussard is here from the Gulf Coast Workforce Board. And Chrystal, I'm going to turn it over to you. Chrystal, are you with us still?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, there I am. All right, so we're going to talk about WARN and rapid response. Next slide. So the WARN Act requires employers to provide a written 60 calendar day notice in advance to Texas Workforce Commission. Plant closings and mass layoffs trigger the WARN. An employer's notice just assures that assistance can be provided to their staff. And it unlocks certain services through Texas Workforce Commission. The advance notice also allows employees and their families to transition time to seek alternative jobs and to enter new skills and training programs. Next. When the WARN is received, Workforce Solutions provides on-site information to employers and employees about employment and retraining. Services that they may include are labor market information in our region, in our area, in the state, job search and placement assistance, on-the-job training, classroom training, entrepreneurial training, and referrals to basic and remedial education. All of those services are provided through Workforce Solutions and their partners. Next. Who is required to file the WARN? Businesses with 100 or more full-time employees with layoffs of 50 employees at a single site. Businesses with 100 or more full-time employees that are private for-profit business, private nonprofit organization, quasi-public entity. Benefits of filing WARN. Employers allow their employees to the transition time to go from one job to the next. Employees can pursue retraining before they leave their current job through rapid response services and WARN services. Employees can make financial decisions early on. They can call their creditors. They can see if there are anything they can do to perhaps avoid having missteps. Employers show their concern and goodwill to their employees when they invite WARN and rapid response to their employees. Unemployment claims are reduced because most people can pretty much get set for retraining or new jobs, and the rapid response services are triggered. That's another benefit. Next. The Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, it actually requires that each state coordinate and provide rapid response services. And so the Gulf Coast Workforce Board is contracted to do rapid response for our region locally. And we can use up to 25% of the WIOA dislocated worker allocation for rapid response services. Next. So what is rapid response? It's when businesses close plants or lay off workers. Workforce Solutions can provide immediate on-site services to assist workers facing job losses. Rapid response provides early intervention assistance designed to transition workers to their next employment as soon as possible. Rapid response services are tailored to each company based on the needs of the affected employees. Next. How will you know a rapid response event may be needed? Three primary types of notices indicate that the need for rapid response is there. The warn, which is sent to Texas Workforce Commission by the employer, a public notice in a newspaper or other source of media, and a notice that we might encounter from an employee that works into one of our, former employee that walks into one of our offices, or through word of mouth. Next. Some of the benefits of rapid response interventions result in decreased absenteeism, increased productivity from your employees, less stress and unacceptable behavior after you've announced that there might be layoffs, and decreased workplace and domestic violence because they've got somebody to talk to. And rapid response services also provide crisis counseling. Next. Rapid response services that you can find at our offices and through our rapid response events include job listings, referrals, resume interviewing assistance, labor market information, social media and how to use that in your job search, computer tutorials, career exploration and planning, career guidance, and access to the Workforce Solutions career offices for job search. Unemployment information is also a part of rapid response. So what we'll do is have someone talk to employees about that and answer their questions. Next slide. So the process is that a warn notice is sent to Texas Workforce Commission. The employer receives a call from Rapid Response Coordinator to discuss the warn and current employer needs and the next steps for that. Rapid Response Coordinator contacts the employer representative and Rapid Response team members for a meeting to discuss the logistics. Next. So on that day that we hold the information or the orientation session, what happens is we invite our Texas Workforce Commission unemployment field specialist for our region, and he'll provide an overview of unemployment benefits and do Q&A. He'll also talk about trade adjustment assistance if that's applicable. Our Workforce Solutions Rapid Response team will provide an overview of employment services and training available in the Gulf Coast region, locations of career offices, customized services available, and we'll talk about Work in Texas, the job matching system, the largest probably in the nation, so that employees can look for jobs. Next. So engagement. So we've had the orientation, but that's just the first step in engaging the rapid response participant. The next step is to get them to take advantage of the services and programs that we have to offer at Workforce Solutions and at our career offices. Next. Furloughs and layoffs. So the difference between a furlough and a layoff is that the furlough allows employees to return to their jobs. Layoffs are permanent discharges. Furloughs allow employees to keep their benefits. Layoffs end all pay and benefits. There may be some exceptions, and employers may extend some benefits during a layoff. They might provide a severance for years of service to those exiting employees. Next. So on the furloughs from warrants that have been filed recently, as you look at this little chart, the hotels have been hit, the restaurants hit even more, oil and gas has been hit, and the supply companies to oil and gas service and supply companies have been hit even more. Next. So this is a Who's Hiring Now tool. I received this from our principal economist. He's the expert on these matters. But what this says is that there's, over the 30-day period, there's been some reduction in some of the different sectors. The greatest reductions, it looks like, in mining, quarrying, oil and gas extraction, along with many others like education. It's just the entire list there. I won't go through that, but just to let you see how things are going this past 30 days. Next slide. So this is the last 7 days, and it might be off a little bit. It might be the last 7 days last week. You can see there's a really, really big difference here now. So where oil and gas was around 29% on the other slide, it's now 7%. And agriculture is at 11%. I don't know why, but we're needing a lot of food, right? So the education services, of course, everyone's home, it's at 1%. Next. So I put together some resources that you can look in one slide here and see those. Pretty much, they're some of the ones, Mike, I think, already shared this one on shared work. Mass claims, if your company is thinking about laying off right now and maybe not sending people out the door until 2 weeks from now, you might want to file a mass claims, and there's the site for that. Also, Families First Coronavirus Response Act is listed there, and mental health support is listed there. Child care is also listed. And of course, unemployment benefits. That last link will tell you everything you need to know, show you where to go for all of the unemployment benefits updates. Next. So questions, I think we'll take those later. Next. So our message to everyone out there is to preserve public health and safety. Workforce Solutions offices are temporarily closed to walk-in customers. We are still here to serve you remotely though. Connect with us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And please visit us at www.wrksolutions.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrystal. And there are some questions that have come in for both you and Michael.
Okay.
And so this first question is from Michael. It says, we were told by TWC that the 10% shared work program requires a minimum of 2 employees to participate. Is that your understanding?
To my understanding, it has more to do with your overall amount of individuals participating and what's the percentage of that. So if the percentage is of affected individuals in your case is 2, but you only have 10 people, then definitely that would be at least 20% of your people affected. So I don't think it's a minimum as much as how many people are existing in your organization. But if you have a certain issue that's coming up, feel free to share your information and get on over to me, and I can see if I can direct it to the right individual.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Looks like this is just a general question. Maybe both of you can weigh in on it. Do employees who voluntarily decide to stay home, even though their workplace remained open, have the ability to receive unemployment benefits?
I'll take that, Mike. I was on a call with Texas Workforce Commission this week, and that could affect their benefits because we're looking at, is that company making it safe to come back to work? If they do everything that they can to make it safe to come back to work, yeah, that could cause a problem for that employee. Unless that employee is ill and lets the employer know that.
Okay, thank you. This is for you, Chrystal. Is it true that since the president has issued a national emergency, the WARN notice may be bypassed if an organization furloughs or lays off more than 50 people?
Well, good question. And what I can say about that is that in the state of Texas, we don't really enforce WARN. So yeah, you don't have to provide a WARN notice.
Okay. Is the 60-day notice requirement for the TWC for employees, I'm sorry, is the 60-day notice requirement for the TWC for the employees or for both? Does that make sense to either one of you? Okay.
The 60 calendar day is the WARN requirement. Again, because we don't enforce WARN, many employers don't have the opportunity to give their employees a 60-day notice. It would be great if you could do both for both, but again, it's not enforced, so it's not really required.
So, Chrystal, if the WARN notice isn't an enforced thing or regulation, why should an employer take the time to file a WARN notice?
Because it opens up so much information and services that their employees, after they've gone, they can receive, because that company filed a WARN. We knew about it. We got on it right away. We avoided the company receiving a lot of unemployment claims. When you involve us, you involve the WARN and rapid response, that cuts down on your unemployment claims, which saves you money actually. And so just letting people go out the door and not telling them, you know, what's available to them, it's just a disservice, and it doesn't look good for the company either. But we're not enforcing it, but we want businesses to understand that it's very serious to let someone go. And I know it's serious for them to have to do it as well. But we just want you guys to get information to us so that we can help our community.
Yeah, and if I may share, I can tell you that Chrystal and the team does a really good job of getting the questions answered before these individuals are on their own trying to wade the unemployment waters. And I can tell you that there's employers now that are coming to us saying, I heard about this layoff at this one company. I can take on 50 of those immediately. So the WARN Act kind of puts communication with the rest of the community, letting us know where they're mass exiting. That way we can pull in that mass talent into another organization.
Okay, thanks to you both. Michael, I think that you touched on this a little bit before, but how does the Shared Work Program impact the eligibility for the Payroll Protection Program grant funding?
You know, I want people to kind of be careful when they start, while these are all supplements to each other. If I'm not mistaken, for the Payroll Protection Program to be forgiven, you can't have you can't reduce hours. You have to keep them working full time as you were needing them to. So if it does affect anything, it may be for affecting the forgiving portion of that loan. So you do want to be careful with that. I'd encourage you to use every one of these programs out here, but if you're looking to have loans forgiven, you don't want to furlough anybody.
All right, thank you. Chrystal, this is for you. Is the COVID-19 pandemic considered part of an unforeseeable business circumstance for the WARN Act?
Yes, unless the company filed early on, say January or December, yeah. They can actually put that in their WARN statement. Almost everybody who's letting people go at this time can put that in their WARN statement, and it's fine. That opens up the pandemic unemployment for their employees.
Okay. This question I'm going to come back to because I want to read it and make sure that I understand it before I try to fumble through it here on this webinar. Lisa has a question about how she can help employees who have not been able to get through to the unemployment office phone line and are still awaiting benefits. I think you touched on this before, Michael.
Yeah, I can tell you one of the things that you want to keep in mind from what I'm hearing from even family members that are applying for unemployment. You know, everybody has me on speed dial now when they're filing unemployment if they're related to me. But one of the resources that I'm hearing is if you are filing after 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, some people are getting in on the first try. I can tell you, I would also recommend individuals find somebody in their house that's very familiar with doing applications online. Those individuals are getting in on the first shot. So if there's any advice I can give you is to wait a little later to put in those phone calls to file for unemployment. But once you file for unemployment, you are given the ability to log in to check your status. So I think what I would be interested to find out was how far did they even get before they decided they couldn't get through. Maybe they got in the first time, filed, and they're just calling back to see what their status is, and they can't get a hold of anybody. And then I would suggest to do it a little later in the evenings. I know that they suggested by zip codes for individuals to call in at different times to be able to get in. So those are just some tips that I can help, I can at least give you. But there is a I wouldn't say a waiting list, but there is, people are being taken care of as their part in the queue. So I would ask for their patience.
Michael, I'd like to add, I was online with unemployment earlier this week. They would like for people to call in Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Okay. That is the best time. And if you've already called in, please do not go back in again, okay? Because it makes it look like you're trying to file a claim 2 or 3 times. So they have you in queue, as Michael said, so don't redo it.
Okay, I'm hoping that this question is gonna make sense to you guys as the workforce experts. This person wants to know if all the claims due to COVID are unchargeable. Does that make any sense to you? Maybe she's asking about whether or not you can file for unemployment because it's a pandemic or something.
Yeah, to my knowledge, because I'm getting this confused whether it's chargebacks to your taxes, what exactly is she talking about? But I know.
Okay, so she's offering some clarification. She says, no, I mean charged back to the company.
Yeah, I'd probably have to get more information on that
okay.
to know about that specifically.
Lisa is asking this question, and we will get your contact information, Lisa, and follow up with you after the call, okay? And then we have a question about if a company doesn't currently offer unemployment insurance with the state, can they still participate in the shared work program?
To my knowledge, and what I've been hearing is that that individual has to be eligible for unemployment taxes, unemployment insurance. So if they're not eligible for unemployment insurance, they are not eligible for the shared work program.
All right, and then the last question that we have in the queue is about the WARN Act. So Chrystal, this gentleman wants to know, isn't the WARN Act a federal law? And if so, how can Texas just not enforce it?
It's federal, but I don't know the answer to it. And it's just never been done, is what I've been told by unemployment here in Texas. We have lots of resources here. So, you know, in Texas, you do it big. So I don't know the true answer to that one.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slideshow so that we can finish out our presentation. So just bear with me for a second. All right. All right, so thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We do have a variety of upcoming virtual events that we want you to be aware of and join us for. There's a healthcare council on Tuesday, April 21st from 2 to 3 p.m. There is Net Effect, a networking and virtual happy hour on Wednesday, April 22nd from 4:30 to, oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my video. Can you all see that now? I hope so. Hang on, I don't think that you can. Oh, maybe I'm just sharing my face.
We can see it, Bethany.
You can see it?
We can see it.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. So there's the Healthcare Council on Tuesday, April 21st from 2 to 3. Mindfulness and mental health. Then Net Effect, a networking and virtual happy hour on Wednesday, April 22nd from 4:30 to 5:30. And a COVID-19 business forum. There's another economic update on Tuesday, April 28th from 12 to 1. You can register for all these events at houston.org/events. Again, we thank you for joining us today. If you have questions that weren't answered, please submit them and we'll follow up with you as soon as we can to get you the information that you've requested. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, everybody.